You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Right now at 7, the Joplin Police Department initiates emergency road conditions due to wintry weather that's hitting the 4 states.
Also, road conditions in the 4 states have deteriorated, which has caused several accidents, including multiple tractor trailers to crash.
And that's what we're looking at on the MoDOT cameras across the region. We've got icy conditions out there. We're going to break down your full forecast and when we could see more wintry weather coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Carrie Worthen. Due to inclement weather, the Joplin Police Department has initiated emergency road conditions. Under these conditions, the department asks all drivers to only venture out if it is absolutely necessary. They say if you are involved in a traffic accident and no one is injured, that the drivers are to exchange information, including names, addresses, phone numbers, insurance companies, and policy numbers. Drivers should also move their vehicles off the roadway as soon as possible. Officers will also respond to any crashes involving injuries where one of the drivers leaves the scene without exchanging information. Multiple tractor trailer crashes occur on a night of inclement road conditions. Just after 7 p.m. Sunday night, Newton County Central Communications were alerted to crashes at I-49 and US 60. Authorities discovered 2 tractor trailers left I-49 and crashed below onto US 60. One crashed through the median between the bridges over US 60. One crash trapped the driver. Troopers say the drivers and passengers suffered non-life-threatening injuries. A Knoll, Missouri fire investigation turns into a death investigation. Just before 7 a.m. Sunday morning, McDonald County Emergency 911 were alerted to a structure fire near North Kings Highway and Railroad Street inside city limits. Authorities discovered a shed fully involved in fire. While crews extinguished the blaze, they discovered a body that had perished in the fire. The subject has not been identified, but authorities believe that deceased was living in the shed. The Missouri State Fire Marshal was contacted to assist in the investigation of the fire. Authorities plan to conduct an autopsy this week. You can follow this developing story on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. We have some developing news coming out of Commerce, Oklahoma. The Quapaw Nation Marshals Service conducted a death investigation on Vine Street in Commerce. Authorities say there is currently no threat to the known community related to the incident. However, there are numerous public safety vehicles on scene, and authorities ask that the public avoids the area so that public safety officials can complete their work. This is a developing story, and we'll update it as more information becomes available. The state of Kansas issues an emergency suspension of a licensed day care home in Fort Scott. The Kansas Department of Health and Environmental issued the suspension to IM Special Daycare located at 402 South Little Street. Between July 14th and October 24th last year, investigators conducted surveys and found unclean conditions, including mouse infestation and allowing children to play with the toys in an area infested with mice droppings. The reports show the daycare continued to allow pets to defecate inside the daycare, and floors were sticky from dry dog feces and dog urine. There are also power strips and window blind cords not placed in safe places away from children. To find the full order of suspension, go to our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Chiefs fans across the 4 states get ready for Sunday's big game. KOAM's Yana Hatzala talked with the fans about their game day traditions in Pittsburgh.
Chatters in Pittsburgh gathered some residents to support their favorite team, the Chiefs.
We used to be a lot bigger in our bar side, and now it's just more about, just a smaller group, that we can enjoy it more, our team can enjoy it, and it's not as crazy.
This is a place for families to come and enjoy game days.
We generally all get together on our Chiefs days, and we come to Chatters, and Bria usually joins us as a family. So it's a family tradition. There's a lot of us here at the table, and we just, love coming here. This is probably the best place to come.
Matching jerseys bring good luck.
Since I was born, they put me in a Chiefs jersey. So, 21 years, I would say, for me, or longer.
Yes. Since I'm from Kansas, so yeah.
Saint Pepper comes from a long family of people who play football. He says football is huge for him.
After each touchdown, we do what the cheerleaders do for our old high school team. We do push-ups, and then at the very end, whoever's team loses, we have to wrestle. It's just a huge fun thing that we like to do.
He enjoys the atmosphere in the restaurant with big TVs and bar.
Just everyone just coming together to watch one thing. It's awesome.
And Nayati is a long-time season ticket holder. He says when he graduated from Pittsburgh State University in '86, the first thing he did was buying season tickets.
5 AFC championships is amazing, right? But at the same time, we don't want to be like the Buffalo Bills where you make it to Super Bowl 4 times and you don't win. So it's kind of like we've made it once, we're hoping for a little bit more, but at the same time, for the ones that have been around for a while, this is very special.
In Pittsburgh, Janna Haudala, KOAM News.
Well, if you didn't know already, the Chiefs won the game 23-20. Their next game will be in the Super Bowl against the Eagles on February 12th.
We've got icy conditions across the 4 states. As we take a look at the MoDOT cameras around the Joplin metro area, you see this shine to the roads here, and down here. That is some ice that's still out there. Now, road crews have been out salting overnight, but there's still icy conditions out there. So slow down, give yourself plenty of time to go where you're going, unless you can stay home, and try to if you can at all possible. All right, partially covered roadways from KDOT in the blue, wet pavement in the green, and right in the extreme southeastern portion of Cherokee County, they got in on some of this ice, which is why we've seen some school closings down there. Still reporting covered roadways south of I-44 from MoDOT. We've got partly covered roadways from Joplin to Mount Vernon, and then again Greenfield to Stockton. But then Barton and Vernon counties, they're reporting mostly clear roadways, as again that precipitation stayed mostly to the south. If you're scraping your car this morning, if you have to get out, we're looking at maybe 5 to 10 minutes extra. We've seen a reduction in winter weather advisory. So in southwest Missouri, these running through midnight tonight, because we could even see some thunder sleet later tonight. And Delaware County still runs through 6 this morning. 16 in Joplin, some light flurries. It feels like 3 with a north-northeast breeze at 12. Cold across the area, 15 Fort Scott, 18 Miami and Neosho, 16 Carthage with the wind chill. Feels like 2 in Fort Scott, 4 in Miami, 9 Neosho, feels like 7 in Carthage this morning. As we go through today, a high of about 25 degrees, stray flurry or 2 possible. And we have additional winter weather moving in along and south of I-44 as we head into the evening hours tonight. And with those winds, we're talking wind chills in the single digits to upper teens. And we've got 20 degrees for our overnight low, so dangerously cold wind chills again tonight with cloudy conditions. Another possible round of wintry weather tomorrow afternoon into the evening. And then after that, it starts to look a little better. Hopefully no shadow from Punxsutawney Phil on Thursday. Temperatures return to the 50s by this weekend.
Coming up, a family in Missouri has been hoping that their dog would come home after he disappeared more than 5 years ago.
And later, a Colorado man can claim that he can play a mean pinball as he emerges on top as the pinball champion. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
In Health Watch this morning, you can find them in nail salons across the country. Ultraviolet lamps are commonly used to dry nails after a gel polish manicure, but a recent study finds that light may cause major damage to your skin. Manny Gaither talks to a dermatologist about the best way to protect the delicate skin on your hands.
It's a popular way to polish nails, but the UV lamps used to dry gel nail polish may damage DNA and create cancer-causing mutations in human cells, according to a recent study.
Some people will get gel manicures every couple of weeks, and so it's a chronic direct exposure of ultraviolet light to your hands.
Dr. Susan Masick with Ohio State's Wexner Medical Center says the more the body is exposed to UV, the higher the potential of developing skin cancer over time. She says people don't often think about the risk of exposure to hands.
There's not a lot of extra skin. That skin's very delicate and sensitive, and also you can have skin cancers around the nails as well.
Masick says skipping this type of manicure is the best way to lower risk, but if you don't want to give up the gel, she says to protect yourself by using broad spectrum sunscreen or fingerless gloves. You can also ask the salon about alternative drying methods like LED lights, which are thought to be safer.
if they've already been a fan of gel manicures, it's not that they have to necessarily stop completely. It could be something that they could reserve for special occasions only, but the less they do, the less their risk may be for skin cancer.
More research is needed to know how often people can get gel manicures without putting themselves at risk. Health experts say people with a history of skin cancers or who are more photosensitive due to fair skin or albinism, medications, or immunosuppressants should be more careful about taking precautions.
All right, we've still got some wintry weather across the area, and we'll dive into that here in just a few minutes. Right now, though, we're at 16 in Joplin, some light snow, feels like 3 out there with a north-northeast breeze at 12. With gusts later today, we're talking dangerously cold wind chills in the single digits to lower teens. We're at 16 Iola, Pittsburgh, 18 Miami, Neosho, Monette, at 16 Carthage, Lamar, and Nevada. But you factor in the wind, it feels like 3 in Iola, 1 in Columbus, 4 in Miami, 7 in Carthage, and 2 in Lamar and Nevada. So a very cold start out there indeed. We're heading for a high of about 25 degrees today. We'll get a break in this stuff, maybe a stray flurry or two through the day. And then by this evening, especially along and south of I-44, we could see additional wintry weather, and we're talking even the possibility of maybe some thunder sleet. Now, the good news is, at least right now, we're not anticipating significant accumulations this evening, but thunder sleet is something that could definitely lead to some very slick roads overnight and into tomorrow morning. 20 degrees for our low, mostly cloudy skies out there, and again, bitterly cold as well with those wind chills in the single digits out there. Mother Nature not done with us. We're looking at another wintry mix as we head into tomorrow afternoon and evening, a high of 27. And we're up to 40 Wednesday and then 30 Wednesday night, so we could see a light wintry mix early Thursday morning before a high of 45. Hopefully, as we've been mentioning, Punxsutawney does not see his shadow. And even if he doesn't, we're at least done with winter briefly as we see temperatures return to the 50s by this weekend. We're going to take another look at this wintry forecast and what you need to know when we come back. All right, we are beginning our morning with a traffic alert for some of us along and south of I-44 as we're continuing to deal with icy conditions. Now, the camera from MoDOT at 32nd and Range Line completely iced over, and you can see that bit of a glaze out there on the other cameras. This is 7th and Garden Grove. We're looking at straight down at 20th and Range Line, and then I-44 and Range Line. You can see that it is still slick. Now, road crews have been out. They've been doing their job. You got to give them space and time to do what they need to do and put salt down because you cannot plow ice. We've still got from KDOT some partially covered roadways and some wet pavement out there, and the extreme southeastern Kansas got right in on the edge of some of this icy stuff that's really been messing up things in northeast Oklahoma and southwest Missouri. So you can see we've got covered roadways from MoDOT south of I-44, Joplin to Mount Vernon and to Springfield. We've got partially covered roadways. Barton and Vernon counties, we've got clear roadways, but then you head over to Greenfield and Stockton, and we are dealing with partly covered to covered roadways out there as well. If you are heading out, which JPD and a number of other places strongly urge you not to if you're in those zones we were talking about, we're looking at maybe 5 to 10 minutes of scrape time this morning. Skywatch Storm Tracker showing some light snow trying to get going in northeast Oklahoma. We have winter weather advisory south of I-44 Missouri through midnight tonight, and Delaware County, yours technically expired at 6 a.m. So we're going to have to take a look at that and see if it's been extended for you because that doesn't update on its own, and I wish it did. All right, 16 in Joplin. Feels like 3 with some light flurries. North-northeast breeze at about 12. Bitterly cold across the area. 16 Iola, Yates Center, Pittsburgh. 18 Miami, Chatopa, Neosho. And 16 Carthage, Lamar, Nevada. And you factor in that breeze, which will be gusting later today, upwards of 25 miles an hour. We got 3 is what it feels like in Iola. 1 in Columbus. 4 in Miami. 7 in Carthage. And feels like 2 in Lamar and Nevada. Now for today, we're looking at a high of about 25, and then this evening, along and south of I-44, another chance of some wintry weather. Could even have some thunder sleet in this activity later this evening. Not anticipating major accumulations, but it's definitely going to be enough to make roads slick yet again tonight into tomorrow. 24-hour low tonight, cloudy skies. We're talking wind chills in the single digits. And then let's take a look at that 7-day forecast. Another chance of wintry weather tomorrow afternoon and evening, a high of 27. And then take a look at this. We've got 40 Wednesday, 45 on Groundhog Day with a light wintry mix possible in the morning. Hopefully, We don't see he doesn't see his shadow. And then look at this, even if he does, we get back into the 50s by this weekend. I wanted to mention real quick, we've got a number of schools that have had some difficulty getting into our system. So in that closings list, it's not 100% complete. We also now have Thomas Jefferson Independent Day School is closed for today. In addition to that list, we've got Joplin, Webb City, McDonald County, Commerce, Wyandotte, Miami, Quapaw, Afton, NEO, Baxter Springs, and MSSU. We'll have more on your forecast and more on this wintry weather when the KOAM Morning News returns. A Missouri family has been reunited with its dog after he disappeared more than 5 years ago.
Reporter Alan Shope has the story.
Little buddy, do you remember me?
It's tough to explain how this pup made it to Kansas City from its home more than 4 hours southwest.
Oh my gosh, it's been so long, buddy. Oh.
Little Buddy disappeared from its home more than 5.5 years ago.
We must not have secured the doggy door good enough.
His home about 40 miles outside of Springfield.
Putting up posters, driving around, checking with everybody, and nobody'd seen him.
Brian says Little Buddy was adopted from a rescue in 2017. They had him microchipped, but when he went missing, no one turned him in. Raytown Animal Control found him wandering this week.
He looks as though he's been well cared for.
Your new collar has a GPS tag on it now.
Midwest Animal Rescue says this story is a great reminder as to why everyone needs to get their little best friend microchipped. They say you never know when they might get lost, and this is just proof they can be found.
How he got up this far is beyond us.
To be able to have a great happy ending like this just makes all the difference in the world.
Just never would have expected after this many years that microchip would lead to Little Buddy coming home. It's so good to see you. You're so much older than you were when we had you.
Well, it's certainly incredible that he's returned home after all these years.
Yes, it is. We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:26. The state of Kansas issues an emergency suspension of a licensed daycare home in Fort Scott. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment issued the suspension to IM Special Daycare located at 402 South Little Street. Between July 14th and October 24th last year, investigators conducted surveys and found unclean conditions, including mouse infestations and allowing children to play with toys in the area infested with mice droppings. The reports show that the daycare continued to allow pets to defecate inside the daycare, and floors were sticky from dried dog feces and dog urine. There are also power strips and window blind cords not placed in safe places away from children. To find the full order of suspension, go to our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Different tribes got together for a winter gathering event in Miami. The 26th annual event included Gourd and Stomp class dance. The length of these dances varies depending on the drum leaders, but they also usually last about 3 hours. Officials say the crowd gets bigger and bigger as the night goes on. They expect about 400 participants to join.
This is just another one of our cultural events we try to hold every year to bring our people back in tune with who they are as a people and what we've done. And so some of these things were lost, but they've been coming back, and so same as our language and our cultural revitalization efforts.
The event also included free stew and chili supper for participants. Faster internet might be on its way to Carl Junction. Optic Communications held an informational meeting for Carl Junction residents about its free optic internet. KOAM's Sugun Bamadelli was there.
A multi-million-dollar project that helps to bring broadband internet to Carl Junction is reaching an important point in progress.
The fiber optic system is going to be is an internet-based system, so that people will be able to subscribe to it like they do a cable company or something like that.
Lover says a federal grant helped in starting this project.
Optic Communications 2 years ago was able to get a grant from the federal government, an NTIA, which is funding half of this system, and then Optic is funding the other half.
One Optic spokesperson says the new internet will serve the parts of Carl Junction with no internet.
Carl Junction is considered underserved when it comes to internet access. So our goal is to provide the fastest, most reliable internet in the region to Carl Junction.
Rector gives detail on how the company plans to start providing services to people.
We're starting off with Zone 2. All the different areas of Carl Junction are going to be broken into zones. Right now we are installing mainline fiber, and once we get that installed, everyone will be encouraged to sign up at that time. So once we get everyone signed up, we'll start putting fiber to the home.
Reporting in Carl Junction, Shagbam Dele, KOM News.
All installations and drop fees will be free as long as people sign up during Optic First Pass through Carl Junction. The Pittsburgh State University School of Construction and National Association of Women in Construction, Chapter 382, hosted the Block and Kids contest at the Kansas Technology Center in Pittsburgh. Students in 1st through 6th grade were able to compete and show off their blocking building skills. Prizes were given out to students with the best builds.
Every kid loves Legos, right? And then their creativity when they tell you what their project is, why they built it, some of them will tell you what each piece of Legos represent. I mean, they pretty creative young minds.
I just had to think of something that would be for construction and a bit easy to build. So I thought a bridge with a river and a wrecking ball would be good.
Each age group's 3 best builders were awarded with construction-related prizes. This morning we are discussing marriage.
Geraldine Chambers giggles as she reflects on her marriage to her husband, Willie. It's been nearly a century since they met. Willie is 99 and his sassy bride is 98 years young. Mr. Chambers remembers the moment he finally mustered up the courage to share his feelings.
In the late 1930s, church and school was the only place the two could snag a glimpse of each other. Miss Chamber, well, she didn't make it easy. And his wife, Mr. Chambers, says he found that God intended for him to have in the last 8 decades was a choice he made every day.
That brings us to our question for you this morning. How long have you been married? Well, 13% of you say you're not married. 66% of you, though, say you've been married 16 years or more, and 13% of you say 9 to 15 years, and another 8% in that 4 to 8 year range. Make sure you take time to vote through our website, through our app, and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. Something else we're discussing this morning is icy road conditions out there. Taking a look at the MoDOT cameras around the Joplin metro area. The thing about the ice is that you can't see it really until you're on it, and it just kind of blends in with the pavement. That's why they call it black ice, because it's fairly clear. Now, crews have been out salting roadways, but you can see there's still some shiny spots out there on each of these cameras, meaning that travel is still somewhat dangerous this morning. That's why we have a number of school closings. They've been scrolling across the bottom of your page. I imagine by now most of you are aware whether or not you have school. KDOT reporting some wet pavement to partially covered roadways in portions of southeast Kansas this morning. And on the southwest Missouri side, MoDOT's still looking at covered roadways south of I-44. On I-44 in that zone from Joplin to Mount Vernon to Springfield, we've got partly covered roadways. Greenfield to Stockton, more partly covered to covered roadways, and Barton and Vernon counties are looking pretty clear. If you are traveling this morning, you're looking at an additional 5 to 10 minutes of scraping time in the areas that saw the freezing precipitation. Otherwise, Skywatch Storm Tracker showing some light snow, a little bit of light freezing rain out there as well. Winter weather advisory south of I-44 Missouri run through midnight tonight. I did check. The one in Delaware County did expire at 6 a.m., so I'm not 100% certain why it's still showing up on the map. 16 in Joplin, light flurries, feels like 3, north-northeast breeze at 12. Bitterly cold across the area, dangerously cold wind chill. 16 Iola, 18 Miami, 17 in Neosho. You factor in the wind, feels like 1 in Fort Scott, 4 in Miami, and 9 in Neosho this morning. We got a high today of about 25 degrees. We'll have another wintry mix along and south of I-44 later tonight. Could even see some thunder sleep, but no significant accumulations expected. Still could make travel treacherous. Wind chills tonight back into the single digits, a low of 20 under cloudy skies. We're going to warm up heading into the weekend, though, so there's good news there. We got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We got Jim Zaleski here in the studio today. He's an Economic Development and Tourism Director of the City of Parsons, Kansas. Welcome to the show, Jim. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me on.
So tell us a little bit about what this event is going to be. I know it's your first time doing this event, correct?
Sure. You know, it's the first time for a lot of things now in economic development. Economic development on a macro view has changed from business recruitment to some more hardcore things. It's morphed over the last 20 to 24 months post-pandemic. Now it's childcare, housing, and workforce development, things that weren't necessarily mainstream economic development in the past. Every community is facing these challenges. I mean, Labette County itself, 3% unemployment, below 3% unemployment the last several months. So as a community, what we want to do is bring together the leadership of our industries. We have 16, 18 large employers in the greater Labette County area. We want to bring those leaders, the CEOs, the plant managers, the shift leaders. We're all facing the same problems. So let's do this, but let's do it on a relaxed social environment. Get these leaders, the ladies and gentlemen that are leading our industry, into the same room. As a community, then we can start to address the challenges that are facing everybody. I think this is an approach that you'll see more and more of. We're just kind of breaking ground here a little bit by having this. So let's get those leaders together in a very social environment, talk about the challenges. It's workforce, housing. How do we approach those? What do we do to face those challenges?
And those are big topics right now everywhere.
Absolutely.
So tell us where this is going to be at and when.
It's going to happen tomorrow night, 4 to 6, come and go, real easy. It's at Free State Cigar. We've reached out to the plant managers and the CEOs of our larger corporations in town, our manufacturers, banks. It's just really just a relaxed time for the leadership to get together and socially interact, but we can start talking about our common challenges. We've been very lucky on our main street. We're 100% full in our downtown district, but we want to grow that synergy. There needs to be critical mass around that. But to do that, you need rooftops, you need housing. There's some challenges out there for smaller rural communities, and they're all the same. So let's get together and face those one-on-one. I mean, let's pick out our priorities and go after those. But to do that, we have to have leadership in the same room. So this is just a start. Get the leadership in the same room. We'll relax and have a great time. But that's where the real work is done, when you get to talk to your peers in the manufacturing industry, and let's figure out the challenges and prioritize them. And then we'll start to figure out how we're going to take it on.
So this is going to be a continued annually thing that you guys meet.
Well, what we'd like to do is take it even further than that. Let's go quarterly, or maybe every quarter. It's not just the plant manager CEO. Maybe it's a group of HR directors. They have common problems. It's a group of distribution directors. They have common problems. But approaching it as a community, there's no longer animosity, and there can't be feuding amongst just, it's the sleeping with the enemy theory. And this is great, even though manufacturers may compete against one another for employees or for distribution lines, right now, cooperation and bringing it together is what's going to solve our problems.
And you said it's at the Cigar Lounge in Parsons, which will be open to the public the day of tomorrow of your meeting. So if people come in, are they allowed to just stop by and like, hey, this is my idea? Sure they could. You never know where the best new idea is going to come from. So Free State Cigar right there in historic downtown Parsons. It's just a very casual, what we call it. It was Free State Cigar, the original social media. That's where, in the past, that's where business leaders would get together in that type of environment and discuss these problems. So we want to re-energize that opportunity. And it's tomorrow night. Tell us again what time it starts.
Come and go, 4 to 6 tomorrow night, Free State Cigar, Main Street, Parsons. It's going to be a great event, very laid back.
All right. Well, great to have you here.
Thanks
you again
for
for coming. We'll be right back.
Well, we've still got icy conditions across the area. Taking a look at the MoDOT cameras around the Joplin Metro, it's hard to see. And again, that's what makes black ice so dangerous, is you can't see it until you hit it and lose control. So you still need to slow down. Give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going. Road crews have been working, but we're still looking at some icy spots out there. In southeast Kansas, KDOT reporting some wet pavement in the green and some partially covered roadways in the blue, especially in southeast Kansas, because right here in the extreme southeastern part of Cherokee County, got right in on the edge of some of this icy stuff, and that really impacted northeast Oklahoma and southwest Missouri. MoDOT still reporting Covered roadways south of I-44 from Joplin, Mount Vernon to Springfield, partly covered. Clear roadways, Barton and Vernon County, and then Greenfield to Stockton, partly covered to covered roadways out there. We still have the winter weather advisory south of I-44 on the Missouri side through midnight tonight, because later we could see thundersleet along and south of I-44. 16 in Joplin. Light snow feels like 3. North-northeast breeze at 12 miles an hour. Take a look at these temperatures. 16 in Iola, 17 Parsons, 18 Miami, 17 Neosho, and 16 Carthage. You factor in that breeze. Look at that. It feels like 1 in Fort Scott and Columbus, 2 in Pittsburgh, 4 Miami, 7 in Carthage, and feels like 0 in Stockton. We're looking at a high today of about 25, and we'll have that wintry mix again. And again, this is going to be like last night. It's going to be along and south of I-44. Not looking at significant accumulations, but still could lead to some slick road conditions, even dangerous road conditions tonight into tomorrow morning. On top of that, winds today and through this evening could gust upwards of 20, 25 miles an hour. So that puts our wind chills in the single digit to lower teens range, dropping down to 20 tonight under mostly cloudy skies. And as we take a look ahead, we got another chance of wintry precipitation tomorrow afternoon and evening, a high of 27, 40 Wednesday, a light wintry mix possible Wednesday night into very early Thursday morning. Hopefully no shadow from this guy. Otherwise, we're going to be dealing with this even longer. All right, 45 though on Thursday, and then check it out. We're making it up into the 50s by this upcoming weekend. That's a check of your forecast. Now here's Carrie Worthen with Consumer Watch.
In Consumer Watch this morning, pending home sales increased last month for the first time since May. That's according to the new data from the National Association of Realtors. The data shows the pending sale index went up by 2.5% from November to December. That is still down by 33.8% from a year ago. But the data also shows that pending sales had actually dropped in the Northeast and Midwest, but increased in the South and the West. Economics cite the recent decline in mortgage rates as a dominant factor driving the home sales. McDonald's is testing these strawless lids in some U.S. cities. The chain says it hopes to cut down on small plastics that can harm wildlife and pollute the ocean. The lids have an opening for drinking, covered by a pullback tab to prevent splashes. They're similar to the Starbucks sippy cup lid. The redesign is part of McDonald's multi-year effort to make its restaurants more environmentally friendly. Sam's Club says members can expect to see more local locations popping up over the next several years. Thursday, the warehouse retail chain announced it is opening 30 new clubs across the U.S. The first one is slated to be completed in Florida in 2024. The company points to the growth in sales and a record rise in membership as reasons why. Sam's Club also has a new plan to update and invest in its supply chain. The company says it will launch 5 new supply chain fulfillment and distribution centers. The first center will open in Georgia later this year. We'll be right back with more after this, but first let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell. A Colorado man has earned some bragging rights.
He can now call himself a pinball wizard after becoming this year's world champion of pinball.
Daniel Kreuter has more.
This is where we keep all our pinball machines.
19-year-old Escher Lefkoff has been fascinated with pinball before he could even walk.
I kind of just watched the ball roll around while my dad played, and I just drool on the glass. There's a picture of me on the chair.
Since then, he's become a lot taller and a lot better.
This shelf here is the first place trophies.
The newest is right here.
I just won from the Worlds this year.
He played on a machine he lost tournaments on before, Flash Gordon.
I've always struggled on that game. I told my dad right before, I'm like, whatever happens, happens. I'm going to do my best, but, you know, it's Flash Gordon.
When the last ball drained, his bonus points started racking up.
All I could do was stand there and watch as the score slowly ticked up, and I stood there with my fists out like, come on, please, please.
He goes! He got it!
And you won by a relatively slim margin, right?
Yeah, less than 1% of the score difference.
As players will tell you, there's no luck in pinball. Everything's earned, including his new title. open world champion.
Does it ever lose its novelty being handed the first place?
No, not really. It's still wonderful to win. There's so many good players now and there's so much competition. Every single first place you have to truly earn.
He's hoping pinball can attract new fans and competitors in the future. Right now, tournaments are put on by pinball players themselves.
They supply their own games and put all this effort into it, and they don't make any money. They do it for the love of pinball.
Leakoff previously won the World Championship. The last time was in 2017.
See, I think the last time I checked, I had a high score at 4th Street Bowl in Joplin on the pinball machine there. I'm sure somebody's beat it by now.
I'm going to go beat it.
But I tell you what, I do enjoy some good pinball. I remember when gas stations in Joplin used to have pinball machines in them. I miss those days. Those were good days. I mean, you'd go just to go play pinball. Good days. Not such a good day weather-wise, though, as we do have a traffic alert as you're out driving this morning, as we're still dealing with some icy conditions out there. Taking a look at the MoDOT cameras across the Joplin metro area, there's still some ice buildup on every single one of these, which means you still need to slow down, take it easy. But not everybody got in on this. In fact, the KDOT map is probably the best example of that cutoff point where not everyone got in on some wintry weather, and extreme southeastern Cherokee County got in on just the edge of some of that more intense icy buildup. We still have some partly covered roadways in the blue and wet pavement in the green in southeast Kansas. On the Missouri side, this is why you really need to slow down, because Missouri and northeast Oklahoma really got it well here last night. We've got covered roadways south of I-44, partly covered from Joplin to Mount Vernon to Springfield, Greenfield to Stockton, and then Barton and Vernon counties are still looking mostly clear at this point. Taking a look at current alerts. Again, the Delaware County winter weather advisory, I double-checked, has expired. I don't know why the map still has it, but it has expired. However, south of I-44, this one still runs through midnight tonight because we have another round of wintry weather coming in this evening. 16 in Joplin, some light snow, feels like 3 with a north-northeast breeze at 12. Bitterly cold temperatures, dangerously cold wind chills out there. So we're at 16 Iola, Pittsburgh, 18 Miami, 17 Neosho, and 16 in Carthage. You factor in that wind, feels like 1 in Fort Scott and Columbus, 4 in Miami, 7 in Carthage. And got a big old goose egg feeling like in Stockton. High of 25 today, and then this evening, roughly between about 4 and say 7, we're looking at another possibility of a wintry mix, maybe even some thunder sleet along and south of I-44. So the same areas that already saw it, going to see it again as we head into tonight, a low of 20 under cloudy skies. So it's going to be cold and it's going to stay that way. Got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. Protesters took to the streets across the nation over the weekend after Friday's night release of police videos showing the brutal beating of Tyree Nichols. He died 3 days after a violent traffic stop in Memphis. In the aftermath, 5 police officers were fired in the last week charged with second-degree murder and other crimes in Nicholas's death. His funeral is scheduled for Wednesday in Memphis. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government announced a number of measures following a weekend of deadly attacks on civilians. The Pakistani gunman killed 7 Israelis outside an East Jerusalem synagogue, and 5 were wounded in a separate attack. The violence followed a deadly Israel raid in the West Bank last week that killed 10 Palestinians in the Jenin refugee camp, a militant stronghold U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is in the Middle East and plans to meet with both sides. And the Philadelphia Eagles will face off against the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl on February 12th in Glendale, Arizona. The Eagles routed the San Francisco 49ers 31-7 on Sunday in the NFC title. The Chiefs defeated the Cincinnati Bengals 32-30 to claim the AFC Championship.
And we have got a cold day for us today. 25 wind chills, single digits to teens across the area. Another wintry mix possible along and south of I-44, roughly between, say, 4 and 7 this evening. As we head into tonight, we are cloudy. We are back down to 20 degrees. So again, wind chills in the single digits with winds gusting 20 to 25 out of the north. Another wintry mix possible tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours. And then another light one possible Thursday morning. And then check it out, though. We start making it up into the 50s by this weekend.
A dress worn by Diana, Princess of Wales, has been sold for more than $600,000.
Last Friday, this aubergine velvet ball gown went up for sale for the first time in 25 years. The dress is one of Princess Diana's most iconic gowns.
She wore it for both an official royal portrait in 1991 and an intimate Vanity Fair spread in 1997. Sorworth said that it sold for $604,000, just over 5 times the $120,000 auction estimate.
Designed by courtier Victor Edelstein, the strapless number features a sculptural sweetheart neckline and a tulip-shaped skirt. It last sold for $24,000 in 1997. So again, a quick recap. We've got a number of closings, and if you're going to school, you're probably aware by now if your school's closed, but there's other organizations closed, and those will be scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Still dealing with icy conditions this morning, especially along and south of I-44, and another wintry mix possible tonight. So another round of dangerous traveling conditions tonight into tomorrow morning to watch out for as well. And thanks so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We're going to be back with more news and weather today at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.